Today is 3rd November at about 3:43, 1 hour 50 minutes before the market closes. Market opened with an opening gap and trade largely downwards. After the initial downwards, market kind of stabilized. You can see that on the 5-minute charts. This is what happens. After the downward movement, it kind of stabilized. Now over here we have a counter trend move, and this counter trend is extremely strong. It managed to actually break the 13 and 26 SMA. Now if the market consolidate, we may well see the crossover between 30 and 26 SMA, and that will be easier moving forwards. But at this point in time, we have immediate resistance at this pivot high here, which is at 3140, and we have another one at 3168. Immediate support is offered by this gap here, which is at 3070. So these are the levels to actually watch. Now market is actually not broad-based, so if you were to take a look at a small cap index, it's generally very weak. And likewise for the mid cap, which is slightly stronger than the small cap, but generally it is the big cap that dominate. Now this is the daily charts of S&P 500s. Here we have a trend line break. The previous session was wide range reversal bar, so this is generally negative. With the 40 weeks moving average plotted, it's very clear, it's very directional. And if we see a flattened 40 weeks, perhaps we may see a base formation, but it's still too early at this stage. And likewise for Nasdaq. This is the weekly charts with 13-26 week plotted. The previous section itself managed to actually break this. This is the weekly charts, and it managed to actually trade below this low here, so it's generally negative and it's downward pointing. Again, with the 40 weeks, it's very clear, it's very directional, it's quite steep, and the odds of it moving downwards is still high. Tomorrow is non-farm payroll, so anything can happen, it's likely to be volatile. In this case here, positive data is actually negative for the markets, because that will make the Federal Reserve more hawkish. Now let's turn our attentions to some of the stock we'll be discussing. This is Chip and Sinks, still consolidating. Again, very much news driven. I'd like to see whether you have further actions going forwards. But at this point in time, we just have to be mindful. Pretty obvious on the weekly charts. We have various occasions where you cannot close well. So at this point in time, there's a wait and see. So again, pending the announcements by the company. Likewise for Golden Energy, stock is actually stuck in the trading range. So again, some patience is required, and we'd like to see eventually take out the high here, the resistance at 945. Perhaps Yanzijiang is a better bet. Here the stock is actually trading a ascending triangle. Notice actually over here itself, today it managed to actually trade above this high here, 128, and currently it's actually at 128. Today high is actually 129. The only things we do not like to see is actually a below average volume. So if there's a convincing break, we'd like to see an increase in volume. So you notice on several occasions we see topping tail. So certainly in order to close wells, we need aggressive buying. So I'd like to actually see that over the next hour or so. Otherwise, it may actually retrace and close with a topping tail again. Sembcorp Marine. This was mentioned in previous video as well, that this is a very significant resistance, and it was actually taken out, followed through with a gap and run up. So I'd like to see eventually take out this high here of 135. Daylight is actually increasing, but today bars notice a low volume, so it's just a rest day. So very much depends on the announcements of the shareholders meeting. There's now proposals to actually acquire the Keppel's O&M instead of a merger, so this is generally positive development. DBS, we have very strong initial upward moves after the announcements of result by UOB. And Today itself, after announcement of their own results, we see a retracement, so it's more likely a sell on news. Again, we'd like to see trailing sideways closing out of daylight and eventually take out this recent high here of 34.80. Now, that being the case, we probably see the same actions from OCBC, notwithstanding whether you have positive result. Alright, so the announcements of result is actually tomorrow. If you take a look at this chart itself, it's probably less impressive than the DBS. Now, UOB, though a weaker stocks chart-wise, but the recent price action is strongest. You see the series of gap here, very strong, and this is a series of sideways bar with low volume contraction setup. Bar high here is at 28.30. Let's take a look at some primary stocks. It's actually shown some strength. This is first resources. Notice actually this is a double bottom. There's a retest here. I'd like to see it clear this high is approaching at this level here, and this is at about 160. Bubitama. Again, quite similar patterns. Like to see clear this high here. This is immediate resistance here. The high at 63 cents. We do have a bit of resistance at 66. Now, Wilmer has very strong price action recently. After this gap, following the announcements and followed by pullback. And this is considered nice. Look for eventual break above this high here of 397.